Here are 7 reasons why Grand Theft Auto Vice City OG version is better than the Definitive Edition. First off, let's start with something obvious. In the original, no matter how far you look, the textures of the buildings, objects, etc. are very consistent. So, how about the Definitive Edition? Well, the thing is, distant objects, buildings, etc. looks very bad. The textures of distant objects are very low. They could have at least improved on this, on top of what they promised, which is improve render distance. Yes, they improved the render distance, but the distant objects, textures, it's just bad. I'm sure I'm not the only one who noticed this right from the start when I first launched and played Vice City Definitive Edition. One thing that stands out is the promised HDR, which is very bad. Certain areas, cutscenes, look very awful due to the lighting sometimes being way too bright and some other times it's way too dark to see what's happening. The original don't have any HDR, obviously, due to the fact that HDR technology is not a mainstream thing yet when the original came out, but the point here is, if you promise your fans HDR, please, at least do it right. Let me tell you guys a story, so please listen carefully. Before Rockstar became a very well-known developers, did you guys know that almost all of their games are developed with care and passion? That's why it's revolutionary. Though I'm not saying Rockstar didn't make any mistakes throughout its history. However, let's move out of context for a bit. Did you guys know that Grand Theft Auto 3 has a great impact on the gaming industry? Grand Theft Auto 3 was first released by Rockstar on October 22, 2001, and it changed the gaming history with one simple shift. While most games at the time, but not all, are kind of stuck with 2D environments, either top-down perspective, side-scroll perspective, etc., Grand Theft Auto 3 moved to a 3D environment with non-linear progression, which at the time is not very common. That's why fans like myself view them as this almighty gaming company who contributed to today's immersive gaming industry. Now, let's get back to the topic. If you've played the recently released Grand Theft Auto Trilogy Definitive Edition from Grand Theft Auto 3 to Grand Theft Auto San Andreas, you'll notice that crashes, the stuttering, frame drops are major issues for these games, and Vice City is not an exception. Throughout my first 5-hour playthrough, Vice City at least crashes twice on me, which is very frustrating, especially while doing some missions, which is not a problem with the original Vice City. And the reason I told you all this long story is Rockstar used to care for their games, but now I'm not so sure anymore. You guys can decide the score for this one. When you first ride this motorbike in the Definitive Edition of Vice City, did you guys notice that something is off? Well, if you can't pinpoint what it is, then let me tell you what's missing for that nostalgia thing to kick in. It is Michael Jackson's Billie Jean song. Here, let me sacrifice this video for a copyright claim, just so you guys can feel what I'm talking about. And starting from this topic, let me show you all of the missing songs in the Definitive Edition of Vice City. Here's the list. Please, take a look. One aspect that made the original game such a great game is because of the songs. The 80s feel is there because of the neon lights of Vice City and the songs, and I can't stress that enough. And if you remove these iconic songs, well, it's still the same game, yeah, but at the same time, it's not. Rockstar calling it Definitive Edition is something I always wonder before falling asleep at my bed every night. I have mentioned this before in my previous Grand Theft Auto San Andreas vs Definitive Edition video, but if you want to check that video out, then click the exclamation icon in the upper right side of your screen to watch the video and get a bit of a context. Unreal Engine 4 is used for Grand Theft Auto Trilogy Definitive Edition, and Unreal Engine 4 is a very advanced game engine, which has a very advanced game physics. So, the question here is, why does the original have a better gravity physics than the Definitive Edition? Just take a look. Second to the last, you won't really notice if you're not that attentive to detail, but Fire Hydrant in the Definitive Edition doesn't have any sound effect. Here's a side-by-side comparison so you guys can hear the difference. Go ahead and try it out yourself, just so you guys know that I'm not making this stuff up. Imagine a scenario like this. If a friend suddenly asks you about Easter eggs in gaming. Here's an example.
Hey bro, do you know who's the most known game company when it comes to adding Easter eggs in their game? I kinda need it for my homework.
I think it's Rockstar. They have crazy tons of Easter eggs in their games, especially Grand Theft Auto series.
Okay brother, thank you.
Forget about the bad voice acting, but back to the topic. I imagine your conversation with your friend will most likely be along those lines. Right? Rockstar is kind of known for Easter eggs. It's not a stretch to say that I've at least used 40% of my childhood gaming days looking for Easter eggs in Rockstar games. And yet, one thing that I noticed is that Zombie Elvis Easter egg is not in the Definitive Edition of Vice City. I spent hours trying to find it just to make sure that it's still there, but unfortunately, I still can't find it. Even though it's one of the easiest Easter eggs to find in the original. It's basically scattered all over Vice City. If you guys don't know what the Zombie Elvis Easter egg is, it's basically an Easter egg about Elvis Presley. If you search it on Google, this result will come up. His mouth is open and his eyes appear white, thus making him crudely resemble a zombie. This is a Easter egg added in the game by Rockstar to reference the real-life urban legends of Elvis Presley being seen in public during the 1980s after his death in 1977. This makes sense. Why? Because the timeline when Vice City happens is 1986. I'm not sure if they remove it intentionally or they just forget about it because they were thinking about rushing the game out for the holidays just so we could buy it early. It was a very popular Easter egg in the GTA community too. So, you know, it's disappointing. And that's a wrap. Thanks so much for watching, guys. This video is longer compared to my other videos due to the fact that I think I need to give a bit of explanation in some parts of the video, so I hope it makes sense and hopefully it didn't bother you about the length of the video. So yeah, I'll see you guys next Sunday. Take care.